This isn't any regular heat. This is nuclear heat. Live from the 93.7 The Ticket studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. Bringing you the latest from the Square Circle on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Jake Bockoven.
Yes, great to be back with you here on a Sunday night to talk some pro wrestling. This is Nuclear Heat here on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Jake Bockoven. He's my tag team partner and Nuclear Heat contributor, Augie Pena, and we are excited to get going. Of course, the football has been pretty good here, even in a loss the other day to Ohio State. I see you repping your Eagles stuff. What you always find it's kind of challenging this time of year to balance pro wrestling and football because there's so much football on.
Yeah, it is tough. By the way, Eagles just dominating. Love to see it. Yeah. Your Cardinals too, great stuff there. Yeah. But it is tough, especially Monday nights, when you got Monday Night Raw going from 7 to 9, and then you got Monday Night Football from 7:30 to 10:30, 11, whenever it goes through. So yeah, it's always great to have a bunch of devices on. But it's also a fun time of year, you always got something on the television going on there, or your streaming device. So it's fun. It's fun. It keeps you busy.
Yeah, and so depending on what what team you like, the football's going well. And I think the wrestling's going well. I've been very entertained by what's been going on, kind of setting up for Crown Jewel, which is an obstacle in and of itself because sometimes they just kind of throw these feuds together for Crown Jewel. The overseas audiences, they like big names. But this card specifically, I think looks pretty good. I'm still kind of waiting for how's that going to play out with, I don't believe right now they've got the Bloodline necessarily planned for that. That looks like, more of the next premium live event after that. So, that being said, the Bloodline is dominating both, particularly SmackDown, but with Jey Uso infused on it too with Raw, kind of the frontal portion of the theme, I suppose, of SmackDown and Raw. So it's just kind of interesting. They've got a lot of stuff going. Big Mankind fan. We had the Mandible Claw return, so there's lots to get excited about. And we'll go and jump off with what was going on in SmackDown. Then we'll go in reverse to get to Raw. Only reason we do that is because SmackDown's fresh on your mind. Of course, just happened on Friday, and we can kind of get back in time. We were talking about pre-show to think back to Monday Night Raw. I mean, we know so much more now, so it would be kind of silly just to act like we don't sometimes when we go through it. So let's go ahead and jump into SmackDown. Of course, 2 hours Friday night. Randy Orton came out. They kind of teased this the last week that he was going to have to call out his old buddy Triple H because Nick Aldis refused to give him a match with Kevin Owens. It was above his pay grade, as Nick Aldis said. So he knew Triple H was coming. Randy Orton does come out, make his demand to come out and see Triple H because he feels like Triple H is protecting Kevin Owens from Randy Orton. It's kind of funny because I've seen a lot of traffic on social media about Triple H surprisingly being called, and it's always that kind of kayfabe type of how much are they kind of keeping a straight face when they're doing this. So I was surprised to see how many Twitter accounts were saying like, this was a surprise. This is really cool to see this, as opposed to like, you do realize that all of this was like scripted. This is all part of it. So, which, it's always fun to kind of catch fans in the middle there, which is kind of what they did. Triple H comes out, basically says, I'm actually protecting Randy Orton more so than Kevin Owens. But eventually Randy Orton uses the crowd to get him to convince Triple H to give him his match with Kevin Owens. We will see that at Crown Jewel, which again is coming up this weekend.
Yeah, and I thought Randy Orton had an incredible promo where he really got into it. You could see the veins popping. He was calling Triple H by his. I think he name dropped Paul in there once.
They said
too.
He didn't call out Paul Levesque. Yeah. He called out Triple H.
Yeah, and that was when you do that, it just kind of adds more because it really adds to the. Like you said, we know it's scripted, but it really feels real in that. And then they have the backstage where Triple H is watching it, and then the joke around is he hit his own cue for his music, because he's back there. But I thought it was great, and Triple H, it's so sad he has the issues with his heart because I would love to see him be able to back everything up that he says, because he's still incredible behind the scenes and on the mic, in the ring on there. But yeah, I thought this was a great way to kick off SmackDown. Get kind of Randy Orton back into it. Get Triple H really involved. And I mean, Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, I mean, you got them both upset, mad at each other. Let, neither one of them really be the babyface. Just let them kind of be a tween versus tween. Is that what we'd call it? And just let them, drop some haymakers on each other in Saudi.
Yeah, it's interesting. I thought it was particularly notable that Randy Orton really overshadows Triple H
Yeah.
now, and I think that's a good little bit of combination of Randy being in some of the best physical shape he's been in, biggest. At that time he took his year and a half off or whatever it is, and got a lot bigger. And Triple H, of course, is not in his wrestling shape, so it was weird to see the former guys that were at the top of the card in the company that obviously they're kind of telling the story of their friendship, but they also went back into when Triple H, broke into Randy's house and went after him with a sledgehammer and all that. So it's just kind of funny to see, those two dominant. Evolution's one of my favorite groups of all time. And how could it not be with those two, and Ric Flair and Batista. So I love when they call that back. But again, that's what makes all this so impressive, is that Randy Orton's just always, he's tied in with so many different groups over the years, that this whole thing, I hope, sets up for, okay, Kevin Owens is the bad guy and Randy at some point turns on Cody, because that seems to have more money to me than Cody versus KO. And they're kind of slow telling that story, maybe to get to WrestleMania, but it's just kind of how they want to do it, because Cody, Randy Orton could be WrestleMania, next year or something down the line if you wanted to. But, we're just kind of all waiting to see what they do next. Do you feel like KO is more menacing? I mean, the only problem I have with this is that we've seen KO go face and heel so many times. Triple H did, try to say there's a look in his eye. So, try to get something there like, okay. But, and I saw some of on the internet responses that he's done so much turns. He's kind of like the Big Show now, where it's like, it doesn't matter if he's a good or a bad guy. He's just, the next turn's coming in a couple months. Do you feel like KO feels more menacing right now than he's been in his career?
I do, because when he explained the reason he kind of had his turn, it makes sense. He's really upset at, well, first off, he was upset at Cody because of everything the Bloodline put him through. And then Cody, sides with him. Yeah, he's all cool with him, kind of disregards it all. And then he's upset at Randy Orton because he feels like Randy Orton chose Cody over him. So that's kind of where the storytelling is important, because it really needs to be there to solidify the turn on there. But yeah, I do think he does. And like I said, I love that Randy Orton is kind of there too with the passion of it. I'm also excited and waiting for him to turn on Cody, because I think that'll be great. Give him that belt. He deserves it on there. But, Kevin Owens, we know he does his best work as a heel. It's always funny to see him as a face or baby face in there. And so, yeah, with his reasoning and everything in there, I do believe that, he's at the top of his game right now. And yeah, that's why I'm very, very excited to see this match go down on Saturday.
Yeah, I did. It made me think, though, because I know when we talk about him being, KO being so menacing, I think back to when KO won his first Universal title, getting a chair from Triple H and turning on Seth Rollins, and just the money that I think that was missed out, or the opportunity. Like, KO's run was good because it still had the list and Y2J and all that, and so that was a lot of fun there. But on that night, I thought, okay, KO's now Triple H's new guy. And remember, he kind of had the faction. Now I'm forgetting the Authority. And so I kind of thought that was what was going to happen next. They didn't really go with that. I always thought they missed out on that, because KO as Triple H's guy as the champion would have been a lot of fun. But they decided to go a different route. But we'll kind of see. There's a lot of history that they're playing in with all these characters back together, and you just love to see that as a wrestling fan. After that, we had Game 7, Andrade versus Carmelo Hayes. LA Knight was going to be out there as the special guest referee. And all his he always like referee gear to see what guys put. He pretty much wore his whole costume and just threw a wrestling or a referee shirt underneath it. Ultimately, as would be expected, I suppose, LA Knight did eventually get into this match. I think first with Carmelo and then with Andrade, and then this was built up as, okay, this is going to be the game breaker. The winner of this probably going to be positioning themselves to take on LA Knight for his title. And so this, they just spent a lot of time setting this up. Was my only problem, is that they kind of went with a finish that didn't really give you a conclusion, because LA Knight just kind of got frustrated, I suppose, and quit. He went over and rung the bell himself, declared himself the winner. All this was, of course, to set up a triple threat match for his title, which is good. That's the end result that makes sense here. It's just, we watched 7 of these matches, and this almost opens the door for Game 8. Is part of my problem is that it's not concluding, and I don't think the right move. And we'll talk about this later. I don't think Andrade or Carmelo should beat LA Knight. So I just don't know if you're concluding this.
Yeah, it almost feels like just a waste, right? Of just these two guys. It's been going on for months now. Get 7. I mean, 7
And they
consecutive
put on
matches.
phenomenal matches. If you like wrestling matches, that's kind of what they're banking this off of, is that these guys can put together really good matches.
Yeah, but the issue with that becomes when you see it every week for 2 straight months, the same guys go after each other. And it's just, it's not like they have segments or anything, right? Like just they're literally having matches every week, and I think that gets very repetitive and can get very boring, even if it's, they do a good job, and that's what we ran into here. And like you said, neither one of these guys should be the one to beat LA Knight, because he kind of got put into this feud a little bit late into it, and so it kind of just feels like it's there, and he hasn't really been able to do much with his belt, on there. So yeah, it was fine. It was kind of supposed to be the funny, get LA Knight, kind of get him in full character, have Andrade, Carmelo Hayes. The backstage segment I thought was kind of funny, when he's told that it's going to be a triple threat for the championship in Saudi and all that. But that's the way they're going with it. They clearly don't have anyone else any other mid-carders that they want to, get LA Knight in a feud with. I just hope if he wins this, that's kind of the end of it. And then Carmelo and Andrade can keep doing their own little feud. Just get the United States Championship out of there.
Are you entertained? We always have to go back to this because you're a big LA Knight fan. You wanted him to get the push at WrestleMania. You weren't alone. There were plenty of wrestling fans in there. How do you feel like his United States Championship run has been so far?
It's been very stale. It's not just him though. When we think about it, just recently, Bayley's was stale. We kind of talk about Cody Rhodes has not been great unless,
the highs are crazy.
Yeah.
But then those months in between getting to
Roman
often or The Rock.
And then it's really hard when you're following up Logan Paul,
right.
More than a year, run on there. And LA Knight, I mean, was great on it. But, to put it on, he's got the fans. But when you're giving him Carmelo Hayes, Andrade, I don't even remember who his first opponent was. I don't even remember who he.
Well, and he did the WrestleMania match at AJ Styles, like it's a big name, but felt like it wasn't quite what they could have went with this run.
Well, then he lost that the very next match
night,
for the number one contender. It's like that WrestleMania match should have been just the booking on there. I still feel like his character has the ability to do something with. They just got to get somebody interesting to be his opponent, because right now, it's been very unimpressive. It's nice to see him with the title. He deserved a title, but they haven't done anything. They haven't let him truly be himself, or, like I said, bring somebody in that's established. Yes, and Andrade is great, but he's not great on the mic. Carmelo Hayes is new, was the number 1 overall pick, but, hasn't done anything on there. So they need to bring in a mid-carder. I don't even know who they'd bring, in to help with that, but they need to bring somebody in to just elevate this with him.
Yeah, and that's what I think. I think they're trying to get the rub for Andrade and Carmelo Hayes off of LA Knight. And he just felt like, for those that were waiting and seeing what they were going to do with him, and now they finally got him as champion, felt like you could tell a different story of, him still rising up the card, because we all know U.S. champion is not the same as WWE champion, world heavyweight champion. And so you kind of, I thought maybe they would, because they had Logan and Paul involved, even a legend like Rey Mysterio or something, just something that's kind of puts him over a little bit more than him putting these other guys over, I think would help. So we'll kind of see how it goes. Then we had Naomi against Candice LeRae. Tiffany Stratton had shown up early in the night. She was informed by Nia Jax that she's not the left-hand man anymore. It's now Candice LeRae, only at least as far as taking Naomi out. So we got in this matchup, of course, India Hartwell gets involved, Candice LeRae's sidekick. But Bayley comes out to make the save for Candice LeRae. Candice LeRae, for Naomi. Naomi, who's always fantastic in the ring, as we mentioned, always had some entertaining moves. Does use Bayley to help get her the pin over LeRae. Of course, the rest not paying attention. Bayley and Naomi celebrate to end this segment. And I think it's just kind of notable. Bayley, it looks like they're trying to find. It's kind of got more of an exciting entrance for her. She's definitely now on the face side of things, right?
Mhm.
And so it's interesting to see kind of how they layer this. But and it's not like Candice LeRae necessarily. That Candice LeRae definitely could have used this win, right? I mean, that's who
Yeah.
she just pinned Bailey the previous week, so maybe it's setting up for Bailey to get her revenge on Candice LeRae, but it still feels a little tilted there, like
Yeah.
right, like Candice LeRae still needs to get um some more up on these two before it was that big of a deal. So that would be my only thing here is I don't know if they had the right winner.
Yeah, it's a little confusing because they kind of not much, but they talked up that speed championship that Candice LeRae has, that she's a champion, all that stuff. So yeah, I agree with that. This actually wasn't a bad match. I thought it was a fine match. And you could see the distraction coming on there. And with Bailey, I agree on that. The one thing I'm gonna say, and this may sound a little harsh, but whoever allowed Bailey to shave half of her hair off, I think should be fired.
You don't like that look.
Be creative as you want. I just don't think
Yeah.
it really sticks. It's kind of a weird look for her, I think, on that. And I know she's going for that like edgy punk look, I think.
Yeah.
So it works on that. Just I had forgotten she had it for such a long time, and then she like turned to face the camera, or whatever. I was like, oh, she shaved
Yeah.
half her hair there. And then I think the kind of the more important thing of this segment though was the fact that this is solidifying to me that Tiffany Stratton is cashing in on Nia Jax. Like it plain and simple that they've teased Liv in that, but she's cashing in on Nia Jax on Saturday.
Are you interested in Candice LeRae taking over as the sidekick, or do you think this? I mean, it very well could be just to give Candice LeRae some TV time, and that's why in my head the booking might not have made sense, but it would make sense if they actually couldn't, for whatever reason it was Tiffany Stratton. We were told they were sick. Maybe she really was sick, and it was like, okay, here's a 2-week plan. We can at least get something for Candice LeRae, and I think it helped her out. Obviously, getting a pin over Bailey. But is there any interest in does that? We've talked about it. She's had a tough time kind of finding I would say like kind of a personality or gimmick or whatever it is on the roster. I think if you paired her with Nia Jax, maybe that could help. Kind of lives Indy Hartwell out there floating around.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting right now. It's good for Candice LeRae. Like we say, TV time, always good on there. And when you get her, you get Indy at the same time, right? So Nia's kind of getting two of them, if that makes sense. But to me, I think it's going to be interesting because this Friday could be interesting where if she tells Tiffany, hey, I want Candice LeRae out there with me, then it kind of gets a little iffy on the cash in, right?
Yeah.
Because then Tiffany won't just be out there to kind of be the right hand or the left hand, whatever they're calling
right
it.
Hand, man, whatever it is.
Right hand, left hand. But it could be either, whatever Nia prefers on there. Yeah, on there. But then it gets tricky on how they're going to do the cash in, because then Candice would be there and Indy would be there to kind of interrupt that. And then, instead of a cash in, then you kind of have a storyline of, then an actual feud. And I don't really like those with the Money in the Bank, kind of like John Cena, you got a feud there and you got the potential that somebody's not going to cash it in. And I don't think they should do that for Tiffany.
Yeah, we'll kind of see how it goes there. A lot of booking options down the line with everybody involved. So I don't think they're necessarily in a bad spot there. But again, for Bailey now and Naomi, they've kind of got to find something. Got to find something for them coming out of this. I don't know if this kind of ends it there, but there's always another battle with Nia Jax, I suppose, right around the corner because they both of them have penned her, over the last couple of weeks as well. So we'll kind of see. And Nia might not be the champion by the time we're speaking this time next week. So it's all kind of interesting to see there. Then we got the Gunther Cody Rhodes promo, and I say that as if there's only one. There's one basically every episode of SmackDown and Raw the last couple of weeks. This one changed though. Finally, after weeks of just trading barbs, the American Nightmare finally lost the schools and attacked Gunther. This made Ludwig Kaiser, of course, his sidekick, Gunther's sidekick, come out to help the ring general. Then Randy Orton comes down and makes the save and gets Imperium to start getting away. This sets up for a matchup next week as well for Cody Rhodes. And so it's all kind of interesting because is it Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton against Gunther in Kaiser. So it's all kind of interesting to see where we go with that. The only thing that I would say is you're kind of trying to show champion versus champion, and now you obviously you get the sidekicks. and I love Ludwig Kaiser, but he's no Randy Orton, so it doesn't feel like a equal pairing when they face off. But at least we saw something and saw a few more people getting action. And of course, with Randy's music hitting, you're kind of looking around the corner to see if KO is going to show up at any time because he was told by Triple H to look out at all times.
Yeah, and bringing in the sidekicks, because I was a little excited because a couple weeks ago Cody Rhodes said, there will be one champion, there won't be any interference, no distractions. Well, this week kind of solidifies the fact that Kevin Owens is going to be there because, like you said, Ludwig Kaiser isn't Randy Orton. So, Kevin Owens is going to go out there and try to, distract it. But I think it's nice, have the 2-on-2. You're unfortunately your boy, Ludwig, what he's there for. Kind of protect everybody out there. But I think he's doing, he does a great job. And he hasn't been around for the last couple of weeks, right? So they kind of just have him, you forget about him, and then he kind of comes in when Gunther kind of needs him on there. So it's creative in that way on that. But I thought this was a nice segment because they've been showing disrespect. We needed to see something, and they delivered it this week. And now, hopefully on Friday, we get something, a little glimpse of it, and then on Saturday for sure we get that big showdown.
Yeah, and you're right. I think Ludwig Kaiser, unfortunately, is going to take a pin, but he is. I'm glad for him because he's been getting the spotlight. Had a chance at the Intercontinental and the U.S. title in the last month and a half or so. So yeah. It's been good to see him get his opportunities too. Backstage, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill were told. I can't speak. Were told that they would be defending their women's tag team titles in a fatal 4-way at Crown Jewel. This would include the other teams of Piper Niven and Chelsea Green, Damage Control, and Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. So like I said, we kind of did this a little bit with the most recent ones on Raw. There's been mix-ups in the last couple. All these 4 teams have kind of just been bumping heads. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense to kind of do this. And obviously, it was the interesting part is Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill didn't, bat an eye. They were ready for this. So strong booking for that champion. We also talked about having less time now. This is more on SmackDown at this time, which they didn't take 2 hours away from. But we talked about having an 8-woman tag team match. Yeah. They kind of hurried. Is this something that you're interested in as they're setting it up?
A little bit because I want 2 things. Either I want Damage Control to win it because I think Io Sky is phenomenal. She's showing it. Or I want the surprise of Chelsea Green and Piper Niven to get the pin. The other 3 teams going at it, something like that, and Chelsea Green somehow gets the pin. So I'll watch it. See how it goes. I hope they don't just do the cookie cutter Bianca and Jay just kind of dominate. This and that, and then they retain. I know we talked about hot potatoing it, but when you have somebody like Chelsea Green or Io Sky on the teams, okay, that's legitimate. I mean, not Chelsea Green really for her skills, but on the mic, and her comedy act, I think she's a fan favorite. So, you can drop them to her. But if you drop them to Damage Control, I mean, Io Sky is a former world champion, whereas the new team, the Lav, man, I don't remember their name. Yeah. I don't think they're ready for that. So they're kind of, to me, the team left out. But yeah, I think it should be fun. I think these teams will put on a great match. Might be the popcorn match for some people, unfortunately, but I'll watch it and I'll kind of see. I'm interested.
Well, yeah, and we talked about it when they actually Belair and Cargill got the belts, that it was like, okay, well, but who's going to challenge them? Mm-hmm. So they've kind of had to put these teams and place them in a situation to make them good challengers. And I think each of them, they've kind of each had their chance to do it single-handedly, like I said, with the other team at ringside ruining it for each other.
Yeah.
But I think altogether, Damage Control as currently constructed, without Asuka, maybe doesn't have the star power to kind of, run with that feud alone. So I think with all the characters involved, this does well, more so than I think having a single feud with Piper Niven and Chelsea Greenwood, just to kind of throw them out there. And then, like I said, part of this is just showcasing your NXT talent. And so it'll be exciting to see, particularly to me. I always like the brute strength.
Yeah.
Lash Legend. We'll see what Jakara Jackson becomes as well, but Lash Legend go in there with Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. So we'll see how that kind of turns out. And then it was really, this was a good SmackDown at this point. And then I thought it really turned on from here on out. DIY against Motor City Machine Guns. The winner would have the opportunity at the Bloodlines belts after a very good match. Ultimately, Motor City Machine Guns get the win. DIY kind of has their own story there, where they had one of them kick the other one of them. So there's always that, and it wasn't on purpose, accidentally, but there could be dissension among DIY. So look out for that if you care too much. But anyways, it was pretty much overshadowed pretty quickly because Motor City Machine Guns, the new guys, the new team in town. I kind of thought, okay, well, what's next? And it turned out pretty quickly. The Bloodline comes out. They introduced themselves to both Shelly and Sabin, the new Motor City Machine Guns, and it led to a matchup for the title shot. Nick Aldis called the referee to the ring and got it started. And we ultimately, from there, had what we all wanted to see at some point. Is there maybe the reunited original Bloodline? But before that happened, like I said, Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa against the Motor City Machine Guns. Jimmy Uso showed up, attacked Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu at ringside. This had Roman Reigns then soon joining his cousin. And they both kind of, everybody was kind of brawling into backstage. Then a masked Jay Uso shows up, takes out the tag champs. He's got, all the hood on and everything, and used the chair while the ref was down. And Sabin and Shelly, the Machine Guns, take advantage of this situation, get the win. They become champions. But maybe more importantly, Jimmy and Jay ended the episode with an embracing, hugging in the match, and Roman Reigns was looking down as a proud father of the old Bloodline. So a lot to kind of break through there. Like I said, I kind of got excited and just started throwing out words because I just loved how they did this. Ultimately, is that I think the new tag champs at least get the rub. Like I said, from being involved with the Bloodline at L. It's good to be 3 matches into your career and already be part of a prominent story and already have the belts. And then you get Jimmy and Jay together, which is of course Roman looking down, and then you start to question, okay, what's next? Paul Heyman's out there, down the line, are the Rock we always talk about. And so what are kind of your thoughts here?
Oh, I loved it. I thought this was great. I like Motor City Machine Gun. Wow, I had to think about their name. They got a very long name there too. They very impressive, really good in the ring. I thought it was fun. Their promo had a lot of fire to it. I didn't realize they're older. They've been in professional wrestling for about 20 years, and they just signed WWE, give them that title. They were great in there, and just all the involvement. Once you saw the Bloodline come out in Solo, kind of everything there. You knew, from the fallout, and we'll talk about that on Monday. But you knew from that fallout something was sniffing right around the corner. And then Jimmy interfering, that was great. You thought it was Jay at first because obviously they're twins and they all got to be masked up in their black hood, and the bandanas or the ski mask to not let us know who it is. Then Roman shows up. That was great. They got all that going. Then Jay showing up, that was phenomenal. He's just hot right now. He's just probably top 3 stars in the WWE, and it was great. He takes a chair, gets it all. It was fun. It was a really fun way. It wasn't because SmackDown has fallen into that repetitive. Bloodline takes him out, Roman takes him out. So this was a good mix up. Take those tag team titles off of Toma and Tonga. Kind of have the Bloodline. Now they don't have any titles. Before it was, hey, they had those. Solo hasn't won a title.
Well, this is also payback for Jay.
Yeah.
Losing his is on Monday night
on Monday.
As well. Yeah.
Yeah. On there. And so that's it adds more to it. Because now what are Toma and Tonga? They're not the tag team champions. You have Jacob, who's the werewolf. The security, the right hand man. Solo, the fake, phony tribal chief. And then now you got these two just kind of there. So it's good, like you said, bring in the Motor City Machine Gun, let them do that. But I was excited. I thought this was a phenomenal way to end a really good, solid episode of SmackDown.
Yeah, I thought it was absolutely entertaining. The only thing I would say is that I do think because of that is that Tama and Tonga still could use the belts at least through this feud with the old Bloodline getting back together against the new Bloodline, because there's just, again, you have the problem of, okay, what obstacle are you overcoming? Because Solo, yes, he's gotten the upper hand and he's got the necklace and all that, but it's now you've got Roman with the Usos again. With Roman's like an all-time great, and the Usos are an all-time great tag team champions against a bunch of up-and-comers that are looking to make their name. I would just prefer if some of them were more over, and we'll see. Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa specifically it's not like their championship was one that I wanted to last 3 years or anything. It's not like so they could put it right back on them before they kind of get to War Games. So we'll have to kind of see what they do there. I just thought that was interesting. Obviously, again, part of this was payback that they got that Jay wanted to get for losing his belt thanks to the Bloodline. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break here. We kind of got through SmackDown. Let's kind of wrap up some of our thoughts there and get back into WWE Raw this week. Before wrapping up the show, we will have our preview and our thoughts on the premium live event coming up, Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia. Well, we'll do that after this break here on Nuclear Heat WWE Week in Review Show on 93.7 The Ticket.
Need a plumber? Now you're in a panic. When life throws you a surprise with a clogged drain, plugged or leaky toilet, broken pipe, leaky faucet or water heater, or a bathroom or kitchen plumbing upgrade, whatever. Just call Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing, 467-1111. Keep that number handy, 467-1111. Or go to BryantLincoln.com. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. We do whatever it takes.
If you want to make new floor shopping easier, come to O Street Carpet. Hi, I'm Steve Carper. Our flooring professionals can help you choose the best flooring for you, your family, and your budget. We eliminate the confusion. Even better, you'll be enjoying your new flooring much sooner. No 6 or 8 week waits. We'll install right away and save you money on installation. Floor shopping made easy every day at O Street Carpet. O Street Carpet. 1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals just like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
Hey guys, it's your girl Jordan from Sartor Heyman Jewelers. Gentlemen, it's time to elevate your style with something from our men's jewelry and watch collection. Why not treat yourself to the ultimate in luxury? We've got an incredible selection of pre-owned Rolex watches, even those hard-to-find models you've been dreaming of. Whether you're stepping up your game day look or adding a touch of class to everyday wear, our top-tier collection is sure to impress. Stop by Sartor Heyman and discover the perfect piece to reflect your unique style. Until next time, happy shopping, guys.
NEBCO is hiring CDL drivers for ready-mixed concrete, Husker Concrete, and Beatrice Concrete. NEBCO offers great pay, medical and retirement benefits, paid time off, and they pay for CDL training. Apply today and start your new career with a $2,500 hiring bonus. From NEBCO's beginning in 1908, it's the employees that have formed the company's solid foundation. Start your career today. Visit nebcoinc.com. That's NEBCOINC.com. General Fire and Safety has been keeping Lincoln businesses and commercial structures safe for more than 50 years. From a simple fire extinguisher to full fire suppression systems, Lincoln has trusted General Fire and Safety to provide top-of-the-line products, installation, and maintenance. If you're starting a new business in a brand new building, call on General Fire and Safety to help you plan a fire safety system that fits the specific needs of your business, employees, and customers. Call General Fire and Safety today at 402-261-0116.
Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bockoven on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We're back on Nuclear Heat here on 93.7 The Ticket. As always, we encourage you to join in our conversation if you have any opinions that you feel like should be brought into it. 402-464-5685, the Sartor Heyman Jewelers text line. And we do have a text in from Don there. It says, Motor City Machine Guns have the energy of old school Hardys and Edge and Christian, and that makes you enjoy a tag team with whoever they are facing. Like you said, it was good. Their third match in, they get the championship. They get the rub for bringing in the bloodline type of feud, even if just for a week. And yeah, it is. I mean, they're described. The commentary puts them over pretty well, saying they're your favorite tag team. But like you said, they're 40, 41, 42 years old. So they've taken the the long journey to get to the WWE. So it's good to see that, that be paid off there. It does make me, I always do, and they do this with a lot of new teams sometimes, especially in the tag division, just to say, okay, hey, there's new, get your money's worth for whatever, your new talent is. But it always makes me think, man, Enzo and Cass should have just won those titles. I can't believe they never did that with them.
Oh man, why'd you got to bring that up, dude? I actually just saw the other day their intro was one of my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Anytime that hit, I was ready to spell soft,
Yes.
And everything. Man, open up some wounds there on that. I agree. They should have done that, but good for.
That did make the turn incredible, though. I thought so.
Yeah.
Because everybody expected them that they, the story is eventually they're going to get the tag team title. It never happened.
And the only reason they didn't work out, one, was Enzo's attitude, but two,
Enzo, two Cass.
Yeah. Well, three, I remember watching their championship match against the people who did like the slow English thing. But Enzo got that concussion, right away when it started, he like hit the ring or whatever and all that stuff. But man, I haven't thought of them in a while. I'd love for them to come back one more time to just do that intro. Just give me that intro one more time.
Yeah, I think we will. I mean, often in wrestling, those relationships can be mended. So we'll see. Hopefully, at some point. And Cass is doing really well over there in AEW. Enzo just shows up at shows every once in a while and gets some online attention for it. I don't know what else he's doing, but that's always kind of fun. All right, let's get into WWE Raw, of course, from this past weekend. We just got through with SmackDown. So if you want to check that out, head to the podcast page, theticketfm.com. After the show, we'll put it up. WWE Raw started with Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed to kick off the show. Of course, it didn't take too long for them to start to get at each other. Again, this was kind of their last couple of weeks. That's been the storyline for them. Reed did miss a tsunami and crashed through the announcement table. So that was an exciting spot that they had out there. Seth Rollins still asking Bronson Reed if he wants to be famous, and I'll give you your 10 minutes of fame here. So they just kind of have that confrontation. They had to be separated, dragged in different directions. And that was kind of the theme for the rest of the show. It's kind of funny. They had returns later in the show of each of them, like being there and talking to the GM, but they didn't get like half a sentence out before the next guy would run and attack the other one. So it's just kind of like, I thought it was a little bit repetitive, kind of silly. But, obviously trying to tell the story that these guys cannot be separated. But Adam Pearce, eventually after another backstage brawl, does announce Rollins and Reed for Crown Jewel.
And a couple months ago when he started this, I told you I wasn't that excited about Bronson Reed. Man, how he's changed everything, after attacking Seth Rollins and the Braun Strowman thing. I'm excited for this. Like you said, they're a little cheesy, at times with it, but I think that's what makes it fun is he's kind of that guy, but shows he can still do some of those things. And Seth Rollins, of course, we know who he is with his character on that. But man, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but this almost has me wanting Bronson Reed to win this feud, win this match here, get him a little bit of a rub and he's doing a good job here against Seth Rollins, and let's see what he can do against some of the other top stars out there.
Yeah, and look out, maybe, we always know CM Punk feud could be around the corner. He could come out and start a feud with Rollins and allow Reed to win this one at Crown Jewel. So we'll kind of see. That's something maybe just to keep in mind. I'll say that. But they've done a really good job, too, of setting up, like, once Bronson Reed hits a tsunami on Seth, everybody's going to be, eyes glued to the TV there to see how many he can get.
Yeah.
Because obviously that put Rollins out on the shelf for a while to begin with. So I think they've done a pretty good job of setting that up. Next on Raw, we had the Women's World Champion Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez interrupting Damage Control's promo. Again, this set up a tag team match for later in the night. Then we had the tag team #1 contenders match between the New Day and the Authors of Pain. Lot going on here. R-Truth appeared at ringside and attacked The Miz, who had appeared at ringside earlier with Karrion Kross. So he attacked both of them. This provided a distraction, allowed Kingston to get a roll-up win over the Authors of Pain. So we'll stop there with those few involved. I think this is, again, good storytelling for the New Day, who've been kind of butting heads. I'm interested to see them move on. And now that, them being in the tag team #1 contenders tournament feels important for them. Authors of Pain continue to get buried again. This didn't help them at all. And then, of course, you've got The Miz ever so slightly, slowly, I should say, turning into a heel once again, and R-Truth getting R-Truth. If R-Truth is the winner or loser, it doesn't matter because the next week he'll be the same guy. What are your thoughts kind of on that part of it?
I mean, yeah, everything's right on that. You want to see the Miz as the heel because that's where he does his best work. R-Truth is just comedy. They need to keep him forever. He's doing great things there. The New Day, they haven't had a lot going for them, but you wouldn't think, being in there with the authorities, the Authors of Pain would kind of have your interest on there. But, their storyline, like you said, they're in the number one contenders title there. The story is they haven't won gold in about 3 years, right? So they're one of the more successful. So it is interesting. But wow, you're right. This segment, I kind of had forgotten because, Monday seems like forever ago, but there was a lot going on here. But I thought they did a pretty decent job of, telling a story on there and kind of grabbing our attention for everybody who's involved. Because just the last couple of weeks we've been saying this is kind of stale, no, not the Authors of Pain, we don't want that. And for one segment, you kind of got our eyes on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it didn't, I mean, all that was interesting in itself, but then you had the Wyatt Six return, and they're fighting off the Final Testament, which I think, the crowd was ready to see the Final Testament be done with. At least you and I, we always poke fun at them. So I think that's an excellent opponent for the Wyatt Six as their next target. But ultimately, the Miz was going to be the target of Uncle Howdy, who set up behind him. But Paul Ellering actually got in the way. But we still had Uncle Howdy perform the Mandible Claw again, ode to his older brother to close out the segment. So again, I mean, I thought this was done really well. You allow Paul Ellering to get in the action as an older guy. You don't have to, he can take this bump, if you will. The Miz now feels like he's going to be a little bit hunted, might maybe kind of take that Chad Gable spot for the Wyatt Six in their next deal. But ultimately, again, I think everybody would agree if the Wyatt Six clear us of the Final Testament, that will wildly put them over. We'd be so happy.
Yeah, and I think the other part of it too is, as you said, the Miz is a former world champ. He's great. If that's their next target, that's a great feud for them. I think any feud with the Miz, but like you said, get rid of the Final Testament. Have them just wipe them all out one by one, get them all out of there. We never see them on TV again. I'd be happy with that. I know we said the Wyatt Six having them maybe feud with the Final Testament would be great, but if they can end them, I mean that's totally different.
That changes our mind. We'd be really happy.
100%.
Then we got Damage Control against Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan, as we were talking about earlier. This kind of set up that match. Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson were watching from ringside. Of course, got involved. Eventually, get a distraction or disqualification. Excuse me. But this really stepped up when Rhea Ripley came out, took out Morgan and Rodriguez, and then had Morgan in the Prism Lock before she could be saved by Dominic Mysterio, always there for the save, right? But it's kind of interesting throughout all this. I could only help but thinking it seems to be there's more interest in a Ripley Mysterio match than there might be at this point a Ripley Liv Morgan match. Again, I think part of that is they're just really stretching this out, and the payoffs, it just seems to not be kind of quite connecting yet. And we're kind of waiting to see the big payoff. But what would you think about a cross-gender match between those two at some point?
Oh, I'd love it. I mean, it pretty much almost happens all the time, right? If she's hitting somebody, it's Dominic Mysterio on there. So, yeah, I agree. I think everybody wants this. This used to be a thing, when we were growing up. Hey, I mean, let it happen now. I think that'd be interesting because as we've talked about this. Rhea's on this super Rhea, kind of thing. She took out Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. This has been happening since, her and Damian Priest have been, the Terror Twins and things like that. They're just really OP is what we call it, overpowered. Hey, you get her in there with Dominic Mysterio. I'm not saying he's going to win, but it's something fresh. It's something different because right now Liv Morgan kind of looks like that coward champion. And if she's getting past, Raquel Rodriguez as well, you got to give us something on there. And at the end of the day, it was really Dominic that kind of did stuff. He betrayed her and, helped her lose her title and things like that. So I'd love it.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and take another quick break here. We'll be right back here on Nuclear Heat, our WWE Week in Review show. We're reviewing Raw, and then we'll get into our predictions for the upcoming premium live event, once again, happening from Saudi Arabia, Crown Jewel, this weekend. So let's take a quick break. We'll be right back on 93.7 The Ticket.
Midwest Bank is proud to be your local community bank right here in Lincoln. This is Travis with Midwest Bank, now with 2 branches conveniently serving Lincoln and 8 other locations across Nebraska. We're here to help you with any of your needs. From opening a checking account to buying a home or financing your business, our staff is here for you. Stop in and you might see Shin Daddy himself. Your community, your bank, Midwest Bank. Learn more at midwest.bank, member FDIC.
Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bockoven, on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back here on 93.7 The Ticket. Thanks for joining us. This is Nuclear Heat, our WWE Week in Review show. Let's jump back into it where we were talking about WWE Raw. We just got through Super Rhea Ripley, as we're now Augie is calling her, to have her moment there. Then we had the Tag Team's #1 Contenders Tournament, LWO against American Made. A good contest with Zelina Vega, Chad Gable, and Ivy Nile, at ringside as well. They ended up getting into a confrontation, which allowed a distraction for Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee to get the victory with a 619 and a frog splash over American Made. And again, a move on in this tournament. I think this is a good move. Obviously, again, Dragon Lee, they're trying to kind of position to take over for Rey Mysterio at some point in that role. So they need to, at some point, kind of get that rolling. And I think maybe this is the start of it. American Made, on the other hand, still kind of looking for something to do here, but it was a good enough match.
Yeah, it was a good match. I'm kind of a little different there. I thought American Made maybe needed this win more. You're trying to build something up. So Chad Gable was, hot, was this guy, we wanted to dethrone Gunther and everything. And then, you have him with the Alpha Academy, who didn't win a lot. And now you're taking him over with American Made, who's not winning a lot. That just kind of hurts their growth, their character as well. But yeah, I thought it was a great match as well.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because they've been getting promos, but they just, both of them did it. Dragon Lee literally turned into a dragon in his promo. So how are you going to beat a literal dragon?
You can't
out there. That's going to be kind of difficult. So we'll see how that turns out. Backstage, Finn Balor was talking about still wanting to get his hands on Damian Priest. But at some point he said, he wants to kind of get a heavyweight championship opportunity because Damian Priest is searching for that when he's done with what he's got going on. Dominic Mysterio asked, what if I become a champion? And Carlito made that his mission to get that going. So because he was called out by the rest of the members, kind of, what do you do here? Specifically Raquel Rodriguez. So that was kind of funny. And then so he goes back and he does get, he sets it up so that Dominic Mysterio will face a former world champion on Raw to determine if he can be, kind of move up in stature as far as trying to go for a real belt. Last time they promoted a former world champion was not the most exciting. So sometimes they can kind of have, different ways to do this. The Maharaja returned, but I don't think that wasn't quite. Everybody was looking for The Rock. Is this The Rock? Is The Rock coming back to face Dominic Mysterio?
No. So everybody, of course, saying Damian Priest, right? Which I thought this segment was gold. We got to remember, Saudi Arabia is coming around the corner. Goldberg's been teased.
Dom, that'd be good.
Do you know how amazing how big of a pot that would be? Because then, scratch everything. But sorry, didn't mean to do that. Everything. Goldberg wins that match. Hey, he's got a reason to be in Saudi Arabia, right? To kind of distract Gunther. I'm just kind of spitballing out there, but it was Jinder Mahal the last time. Right. Like you said, it was very disappointing. But if they did something like that, I think that'd just be hilarious because then Dom just doesn't stand a chance in that match, which I would love to see him actually win and get a somewhat of a shot. But no, even if it's Damian Priest, he's getting wiped on.
Yeah, I think that's and that's part of the crowd likes to watch him get beat up. So that's kind of part of what they're doing there. But backstage, Damian Priest also interrupted world champion Gunther and told him of his intention to challenge him again at some time and become El Campeon. So we'll try to see how that goes. The Intercontinental Championship match was Jey Uso and Braun Breaker. Of course, this was the match that we kind of talked about once we got to SmackDown. Jey Uso, of course, had won this belt from Braun after initial handshake 1 week. Braun Breaker again turned back on Jey Uso. So it was a good match here. Uso had the obstacle of Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa show up. So that wasn't going to help out. Eventually, Fatu even caught Uso with a super kick and delivered a Samoan drop through the commentary table. This allowed Breakker to get a spear for the win and to get his Intercontinental Championship back. And, of course, for Jey Uso to be open to maybe reuniting with the Bloodline, which we saw on Friday night. We have both been pretty outspoken that we feel like Breakker should be positioned a little bit higher. But, of course, Jey Uso has been so hot with the company, like you said. So I think all is well. I think feels like things have kind of set up pretty well throughout all this.
Yeah, it was a little interesting though, because I don't know if you caught it. Solo, kept saying he was there to help Jay, right? They're there to help him. And then Braun was going to hit Jay with the spear, and Solo pushed him out of the way to take the spear on there. So I know he's kind of joined Roman and Jimmy, but I'm interested to see where they go with this, because they didn't address it on Friday. But I'm curious to see if they ever do address it. And, to the point of a week ago when Jay said, this is why we didn't bring Toma Tonga and Jacob, so they got some things there. But yeah, I was a little surprised that they took it off of him so fast. I think his reign was 28 days on there. So we'll have to see. But I do love that it does free him up for this storyline. And now we'll see who Braun Breakker can move on to, and kind of, go into another feud with for the Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah. Let's quickly, we've got just a few minutes here, get into our predictions for the upcoming Premium Live event. We'll just go through the 5 matches that we see here on the card. Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. Which side would you lean toward there?
I think it's going to be Kevin Owens, because I feel like that's the next feud for Cody Rhodes again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they got to do something to pay off Triple H being so fearful for Orton. We'll kind of see what happens there. LA Knight against Carmelo and Andrade.
It better be LA Knight retaining, or I'm gonna riot.
Yeah, so we both are agreeing on things so far. Liv and Nia Jax for that beautiful belt they've got going on.
I think Liv is going to win due to interference, and then the cash in happens. I think that's what happens.
On Nia Jax.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's Tiffy time once again in the WWE.
I'm hoping so. That's what I think needs to happen.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Again, you can see maybe at some point, maybe Damian Priest, Rhea Ripley specifically getting involved and costing Liv the loss. But at some point, like you said, I don't know who gets that belt necessarily. But there's going to be outside interference on maybe one or either side or both sides.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the whole attraction about this match is. But I think you're right. I don't think Nia Jax leaves as the champion. I think Tiffany does. Rollins and Bronson Reed.
I think Bronson Reed needs this. I think they got to go with it, because Seth Rollins, I think, can afford to lose and still be strong. You got an up and comer, Bronson Reed. I think you got to go with that one.
Yeah, I think so too. We'll see. We're agreeing on everything, which is fine. But that's what kind of makes sometimes predictable and going with the right booking can be better if done right than a surprise. I'm sure there will be some surprises in there, as they usually throw out there. Cody versus Gunther. This, I think, is particularly interesting. Obviously, this is the problem I have with the whole idea to begin with, is that you're going to bring down one of your champions again. Probably going to be some outside interference in this one. In my mind, that would be the way I would book it. But I could also see them just putting Cody over because he's Super Cody.
So, see, that's where we're different. I think if it goes all the distance without interference, I think Gunther wins. I think they pinned Cody already. Solo did. Why not do it again?
Bold move. Bold move there. That would be bold take by you. I don't think we'll see that from Cody, but we will see. I think if Cody loses, it'll be from interference, probably from Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
Kind of like you said, maybe set that up down the line. But maybe, and I'd like a little more if it was Randy Orton that does it. So,
yeah. That would be nice.
That would put Cody in a hot feud. But that'll wrap it up right now for Nuclear Heat here on 93.7 The Ticket. Don't go anywhere. We've got more coming up. Uncut with Kyle Perry coming up next year. We'll be back with Nuclear Heat next week and be able to review some of this stuff. So the previous week in wrestling and the Premium Live event. So it'll be perfect. We'll see you next week.